Get in there. So again, I'm super excited to be here. I feel really good. This is a time of the year that I enjoy because the weather's getting ready to change. I said earlier, I was telling somebody earlier, we get the daylight saving time, which I love. It just gives me a little extra energy. And to be honest with you, it's one of those things again where you realize mindset is so important because the days are still the same, but just, it's a little bit extra light. It's 7 o'clock. It's still light outside. I'm ready to go. That excites me. So that's just a small indication of how important our mindset is if we understand that fact. I want to thank the Urban League for giving me a platform to talk about mindset. Very, very important. Brother Jeffrey, Brother Travis, thank you guys. Sister Sue is in the back. Give them a round of applause, please. The Urban League is really about, foundation. And our mindset is so important. That word is such a very powerful word. Foundation. That really was on my mind all week. As I started saying, what am I going to talk about when I go to the Urban League? Foundation. Foundation is such a critical part to our lives. What does that mean to our lives? Foundation really means forward progress. Most of these tables, again, that I went around and I talked to, I had my banker's life in the back. We talked about progress in life. We talked about insurance. We talked about healthcare. Why do we reject those things? It's foundational. We have to understand our foundation is what allows us to be able to push forward. Where does that foundation come from? Up here. A healthy life. Healthy, live strong. Eat healthy, live strong. Foundational. They talked about changing your lifestyle in terms of eating. But what we really recognize is that it's up here. What we put into our mouth starts with up here. You got to make that commitment. I told her I hate salad. My wife made me eat salad. But that was a mental adjustment that I have to make. That's not physical. That's foundational. Very important piece. I was thinking about, I like to use analogy. So I was thinking about what's the analogy that I can use here? I have a very simple analogy when you're talking about foundation. Let's talk about housing. If I had $50 million that I gave to everybody in here, I don't have it yet. I'm gonna get it. So give me your name so when I get my 50 million, give it to you. So I have $50 million and I gave it to everybody in here. I gave everybody in $50 million. And we all say, let's go out there, let's go get us a house. We all have that, I don't like to use this word, but we all have that quote unquote dream house. I don't believe in that. That house is a reality, we just have to make it happen. So it's not a dream. And we have certain things that we want to put into those houses that are complete luxury. We want to have the marble floors heated, the best surfaces on the walls, the best roofs, the best windows, all the appliances and stuff that we put into those houses. It's very, very important to us. But what's the most important thing to that house? The foundation. Everything that we put in there, watch this. Those things are very heavy. When you get quality stuff, they're very heavy. When we were kids, if some of us still have our grandparents or even our parents, and they ask you to come move some furniture, you probably got to get about 5 or 6 guys. Because it'd be something this size, and that stuff is so heavy because of quality. So you have to have a strong foundation of that house to be able to carry everything in that house that we're trying to amass upon. This is very, very important. So our mindset is very similar to that. As we add things in our lives, Urban League is a great foundation of that. As we add things, good or bad, we have to have the right foundation to be able to support that. We live in a time where, listen, we have tremendous envy for people who are actors, actresses, athletes, even political figures. We have envy for them and what they're doing. But I always find that very interesting, and I'm going to get to why it is foundational very interesting, because Oftentimes, when you hear their stories, I like to listen to interviews, I like to watch documentaries, and then you hear their foundation, and a lot of times you hear their pain that they have. There's a foundation that no matter what they have, they got plenty of money. They got the most beautiful house, clothes, cars, everything. But what happens? Unfortunately, sometimes they actually commit suicide. Say, oh, what's going on here? That's foundational. So even though you have all of those great things, if you don't have the mindset to support that, you're going to have a problem. Our lives are the same way as individuals. We must train our mindset foundationally to be able to support whatever happens to us as we move forward in our lives. And I promise you one thing, you will endure tremendous ups and downs. The ups require great foundation. The downs require great foundation. You have to train for that. You have to train for foundational, solid mindset. How do we do that? How do we do that? We do that through mental conditioning. That's what I train people in, is mental conditioning. The next obvious question is, well, what is that? That's a question I have to answer many times. What is mental conditioning? And that's why I want to slow it down and make sure I get it right. But this is very important to understand what is mental conditioning. What does that mean to our lives? I'm going to give you just the longest part of it first. Well, understand this about mindset. There's nothing that I'm going to say that's difficult. The words that I'm going to use are easy words. The execution is difficult. I keep using Crunch Fitness because I believe that mental training and physical training have so many parallels. Again, it's very simple. Somebody comes into your gym, hey, you know what, run in place. That's not hard. The execution of that is hard. Maybe they had a couple of Big Macs before they came to Crunch Fitness. That may be a problem, right? I'm going to give you the definition of mental conditioning. Slow it down. Mental conditioning is the strengthening of our minds to enhance our decision-making skills toward our big picture while staying the course. I'm going to say that one more time, and don't worry, I'm going to break it down a little bit more as we go. Mental conditioning is the strengthening of our minds to enhance our decision-making skills toward our big picture while staying the course. If you understand that, that's really the formula for life. That's really the formula that puts us in positions to be able to navigate through. It's essential that we must understand that fact. We must understand that life is going to deal with so many torrential situations. What do we have to build off of? If you can build off of that definition, the strengthening of our minds to enhance our decision-making skills toward our big picture. Thank you. The process of building our mindset starts very early. It starts so early that we don't even realize that process has actually begun. We don't realize it as kids that that process has begun for us. We don't have no idea that we're being trained mentally. That foundation is being built for us. Very similar to that house. When you're driving by these houses, you look up and say, man, look at that house. Look at the exterior of that house. Beautiful. If you have the opportunity to go inside, beautiful. Big screen TVs, the floors is unbelievable, the roof is unbelievable. They got an elevator in the house. But what don't you see? What's the thing that you don't see? You don't see the foundation. That's the part of our lives that makes it difficult. We don't see the foundation of our lives as it's being built. I'm going to give you guys something that's probably, I think, the most important piece, one of the most important pieces today. And it applies to everybody. Oftentimes when we train in the mental conditioning gym, which I have a mental conditioning gym in which we do exactly what I'm doing with you guys right here. It's called mental sparring. Oftentimes, every person that comes into my gym, I call them fighters. They're not clients, they're fighters, because we're all fighters of life. And every fighter is different. Every training regimen is different. But we all have one thing in common that I'm going to give you guys right now. This is very, very important. We all have parents, and a lot of us are parents. And what does that mean to foundation? This is very important. This is a great responsibility when I say this. Parents are their children's very first mental conditioning coach. Parents are their children's very first mental conditioning coach. Here's the thing about that job. You will get the job and you're hired and you will never be fired. That's a big thing in today's society. We have a lot of problems with layoffs and people getting fired. You will never lose that job. If you decide to walk away from that job, you still have that job because you are molding somebody's foundation forever. Forever. I'm going to divert a little bit because there's a story out there in the news that's really kind of bothering me. There's a story that's going on. I don't know if you guys seen this thing with the track and field where I guess the young lady apparently hit the other girl with it. Is everybody familiar with that? I'm not going to get into, whether she did it on purpose or not. But this is a foundational thing for me because this is a kid. She's a high school kid. Regardless of whether she did it on purpose or not, this is foundational that young lady needs to have support. I'm seeing posts that are coming from Australia commenting on this situation. Thousands and thousands of people are commenting on this situation. And I see that as very powerful foundational piece. Because this young lady is having something going on in her life that can affect her for the rest of her life. So it's important that she has a background that can have the support for her. This is what we all need in our lives, no matter what age we are. We have to have that foundation. Our parents are that foundation for us. Our parents and the village that we grow up in provide that foundation. You don't believe me? I'll give you a very good example, another personal example of something that happened to me. I'm from Queens, Cambridge Heights, Queens. 224th and 118th Avenue. My lovely wife is sitting right here in front of us. Give her a round of applause, please. I'm gonna show you about foundation. I'm glad I brought her up because I'm gonna take this in another direction as well. My wife is actually my next door neighbor. My parents moved on that block in 1977. Her parents moved on the block in 1980. So our relationship has started since then, even though she was not interested at all. For many years, we became adults. But that's a foundational thing as I'm telling you guys that story because marriage is not easy. There's times when my wife does things that I think is strange. And I'm sure I do the same thing for her. But I know that family my whole life. I know her mom and dad, God rest their souls. They're like parents to me. So that's foundational. So when we're going through things, I understand why. That foundation will push you through things that you never thought you can get through. That village, when we moved on that block, we had so many influx of families that all moved. They were all around the same age. They all had children. So within probably the 3-block radius, we had about 50 or 60 kids. All the parents were there. At that time, most of it was 2-parent households. There were a few households where it was a single-parent household. and the relationship that I have developed, all of us kids have developed with each other and with those parents is foundation that will never leave me. We just lost one of the dads, one of my good friends. His father just passed away. And another side note for the men in the room, you know, these relationships go back some 40 years, and we are starting to lose some of the parents. And we're losing the dads way more than we're losing the moms. I don't want to see anybody go, but we got to look at that, men. We got to make sure that we're getting ourselves checked out. We got to make sure, because we're going first. But we did lose a dad. Shout out to Mr. Jameson, rest in peace to him. And we went to his funeral on Saturday. And as we were sitting there, I was reflecting on what he meant to my life. This is important. Just to show you about foundation, and about mindset, and about building foundation. We used to play basketball all day. All day. And I had a hoop in my backyard, and the Jamesons had a hoop in their backyard. So if we wasn't here at my house, we would be at the Jamesons' house. And we used to call Mr. Jameson Bob Vila, because he would constantly be just building stuff in his backyard. And he would build, big decks, and he would build benches and stuff like that. But he loved basketball like all of the dads. And he would watch us when he was home. Monday through Friday he wasn't home, but the weekends he would be home. And he'd watch us. And you'd hear him through the window. He was Panamanian. And you can hear him, if you do something nice, you hear him yell, "All right, Jeffrey. All right, Sue, I see you." Okay. And we were like, but as a kid, you wanted that. That's what got me excited. Oh, I gotta get Mr. James to say all right to me. So I get the ball, of course, I do my thing, do the move, and you hear it. "All right, Ali." That was 35 years ago. And I spoke to Miss Jameson yesterday. And I told Miss Jameson, I said, "Miss Jameson, let me show you about foundation. This is what all this is coming from, about mindset and why it pushes me. I've been through 3 different careers in my life. I was a computer engineer. I worked with NYPD for 20 years. I just retired from there last month. And I've been on this journey of training minds now for 13 years. This is my true passion. And when I get on stages like this and I have an opportunity to speak, I have an opportunity to reach out to people, and I see people are getting connected. And I see they looking at me like, "Hey, that's exactly what I want to hear." You know what I hear in my ears? "All right, Ali." That's powerful to me. That was 35 years ago, but I still hear that in my ears. Parents are their children's very first mental conditioning coach. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your exact mom or dad. We had that power to give the foundation to our youth. I was talking with one of the brothers in the back about youth. We're going to talk. You have a very important role, brother. You are building the foundation for our youth. So I want to do something real quick. I want everybody to feel that feeling that I feel when I hear Mr. Jameson say, "All right, Ellie." So I want everybody on the count of 3 to try it. But instead of you saying my name, I want you to insert your own name and say it as loud as you can. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right, Jeffrey.
Love it. That's for you, Mr. Jameson. How'd that feel? Feel all right? What's the opposite of that? There's an opposite to that. That's that positive foundation. But the truth is, in life, we don't always get that. We don't always get positive. We have to deal with sometimes the negative. Remember, I talked about the foundation of a house. I talked about that house when I gave you that $50 million. Hopefully, when we have that architect come to that house, they're gonna know, and the Allens, they really want to get it, so I gotta make sure that I build a foundation that's strong enough for this house. But they gotta have that knowledge. Might they not have it? That's very possible. And they're gonna build a house to where it ain't strong enough to hold all this stuff that you got in there. That's very possible. What do? We're gonna get to that in a minute. But life also deals us storms. So even though the foundation of the house is built extremely, extremely well, weathering is going to crack that foundation. Weathering is going to make that cement that they built, is going to start to erode. That's a problem. I forgot one of the careers, small career I had. I just did it kind of on the side. I did real estate for a little while. And I was out there. I actually enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed, showing houses. And most of my clients was police officers, and police officers don't really have much ability to make decisions. So you would show them houses and houses and houses, 50, 60 houses. And then finally you show them one, oh, I like it. This is the house I want. Great. And they were good. Once they decide they want one, listen, this is how much the house is. You know what? Give me extra $5,000. I want this house. Great. Inspection time. It's happened to me twice. Inspector came, everything good, but the foundation on this house. The problem with that is that to fix the foundation of the house is very expensive. It's very expensive to fix that. In both the cases, my client walked away from the house. I don't want this house, it's too much. And they both walked away from it because it's very expensive. To fix the foundation in our mindset is very expensive. But what happens when we don't fix it? We are in a standstill. We're unable to move forward in our lives. I opened up by saying the forward progress in our minds really is predicated upon you having great foundation. Our parents give us that. I spoke about Mr. Jameson. Mr. Jameson gives me that as I'm standing here. This is a good audience, and sometimes the audience is not that good, and I gotta push through it. But I still hear Mr. Jameson saying, all right, Elliot, keep pushing. I'm not gonna stand still. But that's built off of having a solid foundation for my mom and dad and all of those parents that were there, during the course of my childhood. But you have to understand it to say, I have to repair the foundation when it is cracked. What does that look like in our lives? Many, many different things. In the active form of our lives, we lose things. I just spoke about it. Michelle lost her mom and dad in the same year. I lost my brother and my dad pretty much within a year's time. So we've been through it. Does that crack the foundation of myself? Yes. Does that crack the foundation of my wife? Yes. Can that crack the foundation even of our marriage? It does. That's life. But the key is, are you equipped? Do you have the mental money to fix it? You got to train for that. You have to train for that. We all have the mental money to be able to do that, but you have to train for that. We talked about eating healthy. When you make that change, that's expensive, not monetarily. I like White Castles. I love McDonald's. I love Popeyes. I get it from my father. My father, I'll never forget, my father was in Florida. He had to have a couple of stents put in his heart. I went to work. I was worried the whole day. I'm trying to work. I'm a police officer on the street. Calling, Dad it out yet? No, he didn't get out yet. Finally got out. I called my father. He picked up, hey, how you doing, son? Dad, where are you? I'm in Popeyes. You in Popeyes? You just had a couple of stents? Yeah. That's foundation that he gave that to me. Sometimes in life, we are born with the mindset of being unsuccessful. One of the more powerful things I've ever heard, I have a podcast, Mental Conditioning Gym. And the very first person I ever interviewed was a man by the name of Bobby Mender. Bobby Mender, he's one of my mentors. He really taught me a lot about mindset. And I was interviewing him, and me and him are very close, but he told me some things that day that I was like, wow, really? And he was talking about his upbringing. He and I actually had this conversation again not too long ago. And his dad was not in his life, and he had a very tumultuous relationship with his mother. So we were talking about parenting, but his grandparents really was the ones that instilled in him that foundation. But what he said to me was, watch this. My mother never gave me permission to be successful. My mother never gave me permission to be successful. That's a cracked foundation. That's not even a cracked foundation. He never had the foundation built. But he's one of the more successful people that I know today. He took the time to spend the mental money on making those adjustments. Some of us are born into mindsets of a single parent household. Are you saying that that's what you want? Some of us are born into the mindset of just barely make it. I love my mother and father. They are Superman and Superwoman to me. Again, God rest my father's soul. My mother is 80 years old and she's still with us, thank God. But their mindset was, my father was a blue-collar worker. He worked for the post office for 40 years. My mom worked for the telephone company for 25 years. And their mentality was, son, go get a job, pay your bills sometimes and some months. What the hell? I'm going to be able to pay for it. That's what the foundation that I had. But now that I'm here, it's different. It's different for me because the mental conditioning movement is what I mean, giving this from a higher power to do this. And I have to make this work. Somebody was asking me the other day, my father, he didn't understand, me doing my own thing. And when he got sick, he didn't have any choice but to kind of be in the hospital, and I was doing the podcast. And he was like, what is this you doing? And he would listen to it. And he was like, you're a regular little Oprah Winfrey. I said, you got more of those shows? Because he couldn't do anything else. He would listen to those shows, and I can see that his mindset was changing to say, wait, maybe you can do this. But that's not easy. That's a transition of foundation that I have to pay for. And that's not easy to do it. Do you have the mental strength to be able to pay for repairing your foundation? I want everybody to keep hearing that word for the next month. Do you have the mental strength to repair your foundation? How do we do that? How do we repair our foundation? Now we got to get into breaking down that definition that we talked about earlier. I'm going to wrap it up. The boss is giving me to wrap it up. Sorry. But this is important though. We follow the 4 principles. There's 4 principles that we follow in the mental conditioning movement, in the mental conditioning gym. When you come to the gym, we train off of 4 principles. It's like the exercises. You have different exercises I'm sure that you guys go to. And those 4 principles are as follows. This is very important. The first principle is self-evaluation. You have to have self-evaluation. The next piece of that is honest self-evaluation. Because if you don't have honest self-evaluation, you got nothing. Honest self-evaluation. How do you know your foundation was not built properly? How do you know your foundation is cracked? If you don't be honest about it, your damn house is going to fall down. That's like you have that house and like, what's going on? This house keeps creaking. If you don't call somebody and find out what's going on, you're going to have a problem. That's what we have to do for ourselves. Honest self-evaluation. Number 2, sharp, enhanced decision-making skills. When you have honest self-evaluation, it allows you to enhance your decision-making skills. Because I know there's a problem here. I know I'm not functioning. I know I'm not moving the way that I need to move. I know that. I got to make a decision. What do I do here? Maybe I need to call up somebody. I need to go talk to somebody. Maybe I need to go to the mental conditioning gym. Maybe I need more. Third principle, big picture. You must have a clear and precise big picture. One word I'm going to introduce that's very important when we talk about mental conditioning is clarity. When you are clear with these things, it's going to give you clarity in your life. Decisions are never easy. Never. But when you have strong mindset, strong mental conditioning, you have clarity. I know why I'm marching. Because the fourth principle is stay the course. I got through this whole thing today and I didn't use a boxing analogy. That is amazing for me because I love the sport of boxing. Well, in a boxing match, when you get knocked down, why does a fighter get up? If you ever was in a fight, forget about even a boxing match, when you get punched in your face, it hurts. But why do you get up? Why does a fighter get up? Why does a fighter not get up? Because that fighter says, I'm the champion of the world and nobody is going to take this from me. And you feel it. When you feel that, I've been going to boxing matches, I'm going to wrap up. I've been going to boxing matches for 30 years. And the most powerful thing about when you go to a boxing match, there's maybe 8 or 9 fights, the pre-fights before that champion comes into the ring. And sometimes the fights are kind of boring, the room is a little dull by the time you get to the champion. But when that guy comes out and he is the champion of the world, that's why I love that sport. Because the room just says, yo, this dude ain't playing. And he looking at the crowd like, I'm not playing. And I'm not going home without this belt. So it don't make no difference what you do to me, I'm gonna get up. That's not physical. That's mental, because I seen guys get hit so hard, I'm like, time to go home. And the guy get up. That's not physical. We have that ability to come back like that in our own personal lives. But you have to build that foundation. It ain't easy. You gotta train hard. But if you train hard and you have that foundation, no matter what the circumstances, I'm sure if I pass this mic around, there's gonna be stories in here that all of us gonna be like, oh God, we gotta go home. But you can get up from that because you have to build your mental foundation. My name is Elliot Allen. You guys have been a great audience. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Elliot. Elliot, you did well.
Thank you. My name is Jeffrey Johnson.